camera. You all right, guys? Hey, we great.
We don't have on our agenda. Do you know who your commissioner is? Well, it's not on our agenda, you have to receive that on our agenda, but in order for it to get placed on the agenda, either a commissioner or planning and zoning board.
How old are you two?
So I mean, you're more than welcome.
Hey, John, how are you?
Hey, Betty Waller's got like 3, 4, 5.
You can about it for 3 minutes, but commissioner or a department has to place the item on the agenda. You have to
Dig up.
You should tell Phil.
So in order for it to be on the agenda, you need,
4, 5, 6, 2, 1. Hey, Russ, how you doing? How you doing?
but it has to go, I'm sorry, it has to go to
How you doing?
or a department. But,
Hey, we could try and, my evaluation.
on the next, it won't be on Thursday's agenda. I'm sorry, but it won't be.
Let's see if we sign it for you. We may have, I mean, this will.
But so today's meeting,
Check.
Oh, no, I'm not building. Oh, the next thing.
Live out to build the line.
That's clear.
So you doing okay? Them gonna get you. I went to Aruba, a week before. My sister-in-law's 70th birthday. She asked to go with her. So the family went to Aruba and celebrated her 70th birthday. Well, it was nice.
It is what it is. It's all good.
Never been there before.
Hey, now you can't be getting seen
No,
now.
seriously. I'm thinking I should be next. I
They'll
should be
run
next
you
to
out.
the. I should be next to the general.
They'll run you out of the elite group. You remember, you have to be on your toes. Too much money.
He's here somewhere.
Yeah, Commissioner
Take
Jackson's
you out to the cornfield.
Oh, that's
with
right.
a baseball bat.
Yeah, give me a switching.
Now we need 7 to call.
Yeah, he stepped in the bag.
Man, I take too many trips to the cotton field to get switches.
She's like gonna rustle them up.
please, okay.
My first wife.
She's gonna go.
I guess she just asked for 1 second, so. So you think he's back there?
Yes, sir. Commissioner Johnson has walked in too.
Okay.
Yeah, of course, that was back when, you know,
Yeah.
kids didn't have any protection.
Yeah, we do. All right.
Oh, the storm is here.
Once I get 7, I'll.
There she is. Oh, all right.
What kind
Yeah,
of tennis
yeah,
shoes
yeah.
you got on today?
Huh? What kind of neeks you got on?
Gucci.
Look,
You bad, you bad.
Gucci. That's pretty. Remember that young lady that had $12 and had her own sneaker line? I was gonna get some.
I need those in Michael Jordan. I get them 1995 and 2495.
Look, baby, I'm still hanging up on Conference All-Stars. High tops. High tops. Oh, Lord. There's JP.
It's like herding cats.
So I can turn my phone on silent. You hear me? You feel better? If that is not done, really can be
ready, Ms. Nations?
I'm ready.
Ready? Okay, I'd like to call this Caddo Parish Commission work session to order. It is 3:36 on Monday, August 15th. Ms. Nations, could we have a roll call, please?
Hopkins.
Here.
Johnson. Jackson.
Here.
Young. Burrell. Jones.
Here.
Gage Watts.
Present.
Talfero.
Here, ma'am.
Atkins.
Here.
Chavez.
Here.
Lazarus.
Here.
Epperson.
Here.
We had 10 in attendance and 2 absent. That constitutes a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Commissioner Gage Watts, would you be kind enough to lead us in an invocation?
Yes.
And Commissioner John Paul Young, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? All stand, please.
Our hearts and minds are clear. Let us pray. Oh God, how we humbly come before your throne of grace and mercy, Lord, thanking you, God, for your kindness up until this very moment in our lives. God, we invoke your presence upon this meeting today. God, we ask that you would give us the wisdom, God, and the knowledge to guide the citizens of Caddo Parish in the right direction. Lord, it is in Jesus Christ's name that we pray. Amen.
Amen. Please render the appropriate salute for you and recite the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner Gage Watts, for the prayer, and thank you, Commissioner Young, for the pledge. Ms. Clerk, do we have any agenda additions?
I don't have any.
Okay, so that brings us to citizens' comments.
Yes, sir.
Chairman.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a motion at this time, if I may, relative to the agenda.
Go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion to advance 11.13, orphan oil and gas wells, 11.14, settle-in village, 11.15, Operation Green Light presentation until Thursday, if I can get a second.
Second.
Okay, reason being that I'm still gathering information and I'll be better prepared to make that presentation on Thursday.
Okay, so you would, just to be clear, you would like to have 14.
13, 11, 13, 11, 14, 11, 15, advance to Thursday's agenda.
Okay. We have a motion and a second to advance these items to Thursday's agenda. Any questions, Commissioner Chavez?
Thank you, President. My only reservation with this is we're going to skip citizens' comments, and if any citizens in the audience have come to speak on these, I'd kind of like to hear that before we vote on it, President. That's all.
Go ahead, Commissioner Epperson.
We wouldn't skip citizen comments. If any citizen would like to make a comment relative to those issues, they can still feel free to do so at that appropriate time.
Do you mean now, or do you mean?
If they have a card, if they're here to speak on it, they should have a card.
I've not received any cards on this
Okay,
topic.
Right,
Okay.
okay.
All right. We have, I see no one else on the board. Let's vote.
Who was the second?
Me? Second, I did. Oh.
You got it? Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right, let's vote, please. Okay. That passes. Back, are we ready to go back to the regular agenda?
Now we're on citizens' comments.
Okay.
Motion to move back into regular order. Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Jackson, a second from Commissioner Jones. Thank you, to go back into regular session. Is that by acclamation?
Yes.
Yes, okay. All right, back to regular session. Citizens' comments. Ms. Crystal Basco.
Yes.
Come on up. It's nice to see you in person. Welcome.
So, hello, how are you?
Fine, thanks.
I was not prepared to speak and address all of you today, so I apologize for my lack of preparation. I intended to put my item on the agenda for today in hopes of speaking to you all Thursday. However,
You can still do that if you'd like, if you'd rather wait till Thursday.
I mean,
If you're ready now, fine, you know.
I mean, I can shoot from the hip if you would like me to, but I have, I've had a lot of issues going on personally.
Then I mean,
Ill
there's no
family
need
mem-
for you to discuss this now. You can discuss it on Thursday if you prefer.
Okay, I was told that I was not able to put it on the agenda and or address it on Thursday unless it was done by one of my commissioners or somebody here.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, you'll have, well,
You can't put it on the agenda.
can someone pull Ms. Vasco aside and talk to her about the process for getting this on the agenda?
I mean, what
What's her?
Commissioner, she would need to, one of you all would need to make an agenda addition today to move it to Thursday, if it needs to be an agenda item. If she just wishes to speak, she can make a comment either today or Thursday on the item.
Well, I guess
Or both.
Ms. Bosco, we should just let you go ahead and speak. Everybody's wondering what it's about, so go ahead.
Okay, and then maybe we can push it to Thursday and put it on the agenda. So my, it's a very long situation, but what led me here today, I started with an email to Mr. Atkins because he is the commissioner for my district. My mother passed away. My father made some emotional decisions to sell his house. Thought he was going to buy a house even further from me. He's declining physically. My apologies. I'm trying to put a house on my property, a secondary house for him to be able to have his own space. And so he can try to grieve the loss of my mother. What has got me here today, because I already have a zoning approval, the variance for the additional house. I have ample space. There is a Caddo Parish ordinance that is stopping me from being able to put a secondary septic system on my property. And I assure you all, I did my due diligence. I contacted the Department of Health and Hospitals. They have no issues with the secondary septic system on my property. I then contacted a local septic person who would install it on my property to make sure that there was ample space and codes and all the things. I had the room to be able to do it. I have found every issue through zoning and through the entire process at a lot of roadblocks. So I keep getting these no's, these no's, these no's. We finally got the zoning approved. Again, Department of Health and Hospitals has said that there's no issues. It's the Public Works that is giving me the problem with this ordinance saying that I can't have a secondary unit. And I understand from y'all's perspective, because I also serve on a nonprofit board, a very large nonprofit board. So I understand from y'all's perspective that y'all make as many laws and judgments as you can to kind of go over the whole instead of the specifics, correct? So if I was to have a single acre, I have a 1.03 acre tract. So if I was to have a single square acre, I could see where maybe I wouldn't have the space for a secondary septic system. But I have an elongated acre. I have ample space. Again, I did my due diligence before I did this and kind of shook the waters, so to speak. I'm just trying to get my father placed on the back part of my property. Prior to this situation, the back part of my property was completely wooded. I've spent $7,000 preparing my land just so a house would fit there. Again, because I have a father who's grieving and making very irrational decisions, as you could expect for somebody that lost their soulmate of 45 years. So my intention is not to keep a secondary resident on my property for indefinitely. I literally have a disabled brother and a father who is that's a whole nother situation, but he's not well. Mentally, he's not well. So I'm just trying to care for my father and not get to the point where I have to put him into a home. So I would really like for somebody to be able to look at it from a sensical standpoint and put the brains together to see that I have ample space. And again, like I said, I did my due diligence because I wouldn't want to bring y'all anything without that step. I started because I wasn't sure if that was even a possibility. I was assured that everybody would do as much as they could to help me care for my elderly father. I'm sorry, my time has expired. I apologize.
Thank you, Ms. Pasco. And if you'd like to reach out to me, I'm not supposed to talk to you during this session, but I'd be happy to correspond with you offline about how to get you on the agenda and prepared prepare your points where it has the best likelihood for success.
So am I able to get on the agenda for Thursday?
No.
I was ill-advised by, Mr. Clark has been so helpful in helping me in all kind of ways, and I do appreciate that, but I've been ill-advised in more ways than one at every step of this process. Does anybody know? Does anybody know exactly how I can go through this process? Is there a step-by-step? I reached out to my commissioner because I was hoping that I would get proper information.
Thank you. Mr. President. I don't think there's some more information that's prepared. I don't think it's not available. But if you'd like to make a proposal. Yeah.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I'll make a motion to make a agenda addition at this point.
Okay. I'll
explain to you why.
Okay, go ahead.
If I get a second.
I'll second it.
Okay. The reason being that if she's trying to get to Thursday, if we don't agree, then we can deal with it at that time.
Yes.
It's not a matter of you getting on Thursday and something is going to happen that is going to help your situation. I don't know, but as a citizen, if you want to address it on Thursday, we have a process by which you can do that, but that is agenda addition.
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's all.
All right, so we have a motion to add this to the agenda for Thursday. We've got several questions, but I'm going to honor Ms. Nations for a moment. She has a point to make.
So what exactly is the agenda addition? Is it an ordinance, is it a resolution, is it a discussion item? Because if it's an ordinance, we can't do it for Thursday. We've already passed our deadline for official notice.
That's another item for
Can
discussion.
I make a motion? Can I make a motion?
Commissioner Johnson.
I'd like to make a motion that we suspend the rules to be able to ask questions and have the dialogue now.
Okay.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Johnson to suspend the rules to allow us to discuss this now,
Yes.
and seconded by Commissioner Stormy Gage Watts.
Point of order, Mr. President.
Uh,
Point of order. Some of us have been just in the queue for a minute.
Yeah, I just thought that might be a helpful motion. Commissioner Jackson, would you like to make your point now?
Well, y'all gonna get Attorney Frazier first?
Ms. Frazier, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, Mr. Bernstein can speak to her about the proper way to go through an appeal of the ordinance.
I think that would be
after you all have.
I think that would be a more fruitful approach for Ms. Bosco.
I did ask Mr. President how I was able to get a hold of the parish attorney because I haven't been able to do that, and I was not given that information.
Well, I've spoken to the parish attorney on your behalf and fed the information back, but I don't want to get into conversation here. Ms. Bosco, would you be open to just speaking to the parish attorney and talking through the process, which I think will lead to the best chance for you to have a favorable outcome?
I mean, I'm willing to do whatever I can. Like I said, I started this process in March, so I thought that I was going to get the helpful information from my commissioners at that point in time, and I did not.
Well, I'm sorry you were unhappy with the outcome. We certainly have tried to be helpful. So, well, I don't even know where we are right now.
I'm on the board.
Commissioner Jackson.
Is this in your district, Commissioner?
It is.
Is it inside the city limits, outside?
It's outside the city limits.
So it sounds like you're okay with letting this go through an administrative? Is that, because
we've already talked to the administration. You know, I've already spoken to administration about it a good bit.
And the result?
Well, if we opened up for, we were going to vote on this, but since to answer your question, the issue is, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. Bosco, but the issue is that the second house would require a second septic system, and the health department, I've been told the health department will not allow a second septic system on a lot that's an acre in size.
Okay.
So there lies the rub.
So
there are ways to get waivers on that, but you'd have to have a certified engineer go out and testify that that it's not at risk of the water system, and one other item. So
because my thing is, we can do agenda addition at any time, but I would be concerned about doing an agenda addition if it's something that sounds like y'all have talked about and you're trying to work a process. So I get that we want to, because I mean, if any citizen can just come down here and say, I want my stuff on the agenda, what the 12 of us doing here, and what we got a 12 o'clock deadline for? If we could, if that's the process we about to create here. I get that she wants to be heard, but the commissioner in this district is working on this issue. I think we need to work through that process and not necessarily upset the apple cart. And I understand, but there's a process in place, and I'm all about process. So,
and I understand. I'm sorry.
Hold on, you got your chance. I'm all about process and consistency, and so I'd like to see us follow our process. And if somebody was misled in that process, we need to just admit that it was wrong or flawed. But let's follow a process. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Commissioner Jackson. Commissioner Chavez.
Commissioner Johnson duplicated my motion, so I'll just wait to vote on his.
Commissioner Johnson, I think we're kind of already ended up discussing it already.
All right, I just was going to ask some questions based upon the information she said. So she's going to want to add a trailer to her property, which would be
additional structure, permanent structure, right?
It's a trailer. It's something that could be moved.
a trailer to the property, which would in the parish ordinance says there would have to be two septic systems or wastewater treatment plants. Well, I do know that there are multiple size wastewater treatment plants. And so the easy fix would be to tie the trailer into a wastewater treatment plant that will handle both loads. You have one system, two outputs, and it can handle both loads.
Well, if that's possible, you know.
I mean, that will probably be a change in the ordinance, but at the point of that's a workable solution that you don't have to get the Department of Health involved in, because you put one system out there that will handle both the house and the trailer.
It's in the UDC.
All right. Do we have do you still want your motion to add to the agenda, or is it still on the table? No. Would you withdraw it?
Yeah.
Okay. So the motion's been withdrawn. Ms. Busco, could I recommend that you speak with Mr. Ward back there in the back corner? He's with Public Works, to talk through what other options may be available. Now, I've had these conversations on your behalf, I assure you, but maybe this one that Commissioner Johnson has brought up will solve the problem. But and then I'll follow up with Mr. Ward and you and try to figure out the best way to get you on the agenda if you'd like to be on the agenda. But I think that there is a process that should be followed to lead to the highest likelihood of success.
Yes, sir, and with all due respect, I asked that in March of you of what I needed to do, and you sent me to Mr. Clark, and so we've done that, but I've seen nothing but roadblocks.
Well,
because I've not been advised properly, and some of that has to do with the fact that they split the MPC between Caddo Parish and the city, and I understand that, and I kind of was as patient as I could be. I'm emotionally driven right now. And I've seen all kind of issues. Number one being with the fact that the public notice has to be sent through the Caddo Parish Citizen, which doesn't even have a distribution past Elsie's. And so that is not an adequate representation of Caddo Parish, but I digress. That is another item.
thank you. All right, so can you get with Mr. Ward back there and see if there's a way to work a single system with two houses or two facilities? And I'll get back to you and talk about pursuing your agenda addition.
Okay, well, and Mr. Clark did say that, but I had a zoning approval for a certain site plan, and that's what I was trying to go for.
Okay, thank you. All right.
Mr. President.
Commissioner Young.
Thank you, Mr. President. Attorney Frazier, what is the ordinance number that is in question here?
It's going to be in Chapter 52, Division 2, under Individual Sewage System.
Did you say 52-2?
No, 52, Division 2. And it's, the actual ordinance is start, because there are several for different types of systems that specify the distances and when such can be used. It's gonna be 52, 54, and those afterwards.
Okay, 52, 54, and following.
Uh-huh.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
We ready?
Thank you, Ms.
You're
President.
welcome.
Okay, Ms. Clerk?
Okay, now we move to visitors where we have Rochelle Michaud Douglas and Sherry Smith Buffington with the final legislative session.
Thursday, huh?
Are they here today?
Move to Thursday. Move to Thursday.
Second.
Okay, we'll have a motion to move those guests to Thursday. Second by, the motion was by Commissioner Jackson, the second by Stormy Gage Watts. If these are not,
President,
these are visitors, we don't need to.
I don't know who put it on the agenda, but I'll defer to Dr. Wilson on it.
Yes, sir. Yeah, Commissioner Atkins, we thought it'd be a good idea to bring our lobbyists here to kind of talk to us about what went well during the last session and future expectations. But this date, they're not going to be here until actually the first meeting in September.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Well, I'll change my motion to the first meeting in September.
Well, I don't think we need a motion. It's.
Oh,
Just a
it'll
report
be-
that they're providing you in advance of their visit.
Well, I'll withdraw my
Okay,
motion.
thank you. But we do have Public Service Commissioner Foster Campbell here. May we invite him up for the visitor section? Commissioner Campbell, did you want to say anything?
You can bring them up under administration report, Mr. President.
Oh, is he, well, this will be fine.
Thank you, Mr. President. First of all, I want to apologize for not being here last week. I had an accident on a four-wheeler, and I was going very, very slow, and the grass was high, and I went through the grass, and I went straight down. And my son operated on my neck, and I'm trying to do better, and I feel better. But first of all, thanks for having me. I could have came last time, but I was not feeling up to it. First of all, I appreciate the council, what y'all are trying to do to help the people. I understand that I know very well how hot it is, and I know about the problems of people who don't have air conditioning, people depending on fans, and people who have air conditioning, how high the bills are. I realize that. So in 2007, I put this on your desk. 2007, I was on the Public Service Commission, and I passed a rule that they couldn't cut you off in circumstances. Like it's in yellow. If it was too cold, they couldn't cut you off. If it was 32 degrees the day before and they thought it was going to be 32, they couldn't. And if the heat index was over 105 or whatever, they couldn't cut you off. I understand that y'all have some other verbiage you might want to add to this. This is from the Public Service Commission. We regulate the companies. We regulate them. But I appreciate y'all taking this up because I know that you're trying to help the people, and that's a good thing. That's a good thing. So thank you for doing this. People need it. We haven't seen a summer like this in a long time with very little rain, and it's very, very hot. Mr. Hopkins, I knew your dad well. I served with him. I know Mr. Burrell, Mr. Young, Mr. Atkins, Mr. Epperson, Mr. Chavez. I see your signs all over town. Mr. Johnson, who named after my hero, Lyndon Johnson. So anyway, I'm glad to be here today. I think y'all are doing good work. I know you're conscious of people out there that are having a hard time paying their bills. As being on the Public Service Commission, I've always been on the consumer side. This was first passed in Texas in like 2006. So I found out about it in Texas. We passed it in Louisiana. It's a good idea. But for y'all to look at it in every angle, I applaud you for it because a lot of people are having lots of problems out there. And you all know, and I know, that elderly people, this is dangerous. Hot houses are not just a discomfort. They can mean life or death. And I appreciate what you're doing today. And if you have any questions, I'll be trying to answer them. Mr. Epperson, I'd like to be on your radio show. You invited me last time. I couldn't make it, but I'm ready to go now whenever you tell me what time I'll be on. And I appreciate what you're trying to do. We're all trying to do the same thing. We're all trying to do the same thing. We're all trying to get people living in comfort as cheap as possible. No electricity is cheap, but we're trying to make it reasonable. And SWEPCO, I understand, I hadn't talked to them, but they've got some new rules and all about people being cut off. They don't have to pay extra fees and things like that. And that's because we're working together. You know, SWEPCO is a monopoly. They have a privilege of serving the people here with no competition. That's a big deal. That's a big deal. So does CLECO, Central Louisiana Electric Company, that's in the central part of the state, and so does Energy, that starts really at Ringgold and it goes all the way to the Mississippi River. We've had lots of problems with Energy in particular because of their rates, but we're working on them. And the only way we can work on these things is together. And we do it by meetings like this where you can express your opinion. If you think there's something that the Public Service Commission could do further, if you got something that makes sense, let me have it. I'll do what I can to try to help you. Thank you for having me again. I'm sorry I couldn't make it last time.
Commissioner, I think we have a couple of people on the board with questions. Commissioner Jackson?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Commissioner Campbell, for coming down today. If it's the pleasure of this body, since we kind of have moved away from our agenda significantly, I would like to also, after Commissioner Campbell is finished, invite former Councilman Michael Corbin up from SWEPCO. There was a meeting today. I met with him, Brian, and the CEO or president of SWEPCO to give some details. But I appreciate y'all because I know y'all discussed this at y'all's meeting last week, I believe, to try to get some relief out to customers. And I think, or I believe, or I feel that SWEPCO is listening and working. And as I shared with them, we didn't want any of this to be an adversarial position. We want this, as you said very well, to be something that we all work together on.
That's right. Fussing won't do any good. We need to get something that's fair and that they can afford. They're a monopoly. They make a lot of money. I'm aware of that. You're aware of that. We just want to make sure that they're doing their part.
Yeah.
As politicians, we owe it to the people we represent to do our part. And we have the authority to make them do their part.
Thank you.
So that's what I'm doing as the Public Service Commission. I regulate SWEPCO. They work a lot of people here. I know the whole deal. But we still represent, I represent 1 million people in North Louisiana, and I just want to make sure that I'm doing all I can do. And so I'm not here with my dukes up. I'm here with my hand open because I appreciate what you're trying to do.
Yes, sir.
I know everybody here is trying to do the same thing, and we work together and get something better for people.
And I also want to say thank you to your office for, while you were out, they were actively helping and working with us on this. So thank you so much.
I thought you was going to thank me for hiring Joe Shine Jr.
Well, if that goes with it, I'll do that. Thank you. And he did help me with the issue that I had with Comcast.
He's doing a good job. His dad, we all know Joe Shine. Joe Shine was a good leader in a long time in Louisiana. Joe's a smart fella, and he's trying to do everything he can to help us too.
Thank you.
I think we got a couple more. Commissioner Jackson, is that?
That's it. Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay, 1 second, Commissioner Campbell. We have Commissioner Jones on the board.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think I'll reserve my comments to after Mr. Corbin comes up because I had some questions, but I will take the time to thank Joe Shine, my classmate, since I'm on the mic.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Jones. Commissioner Burrell.
Mr. Chairman, I was just going to tell Foster to take it easy on that ATV.
What'd he say?
Take it easy on your ATV.
Okay, good.
Yeah. I just wanted to also recognize Mr. Shine out there. Joe and I served, his father and I served diligently on the council. And I think, I don't know if Michael was still there, Corbin was still there after that was before his time. But anyway, send our regards to your dad. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Campbell. That's everybody on the board.
Okay, thank you. Is that it?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
If you'll call me, Mr. Epperson, I'll be glad to do that. It'd be a privilege. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Now, as a second visitor, we have Mike Corbin. Yes, sir. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
Good to
Mr.
see you.
Shine.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, Commission members. Dr. Wilson, good to be back with you today. I know there's going to be some questions that I'd like to answer. Let me make a few comments. I think that each of you got an email following our last meeting, probably, I guess, last week on Monday. There were some questions about did we perform cutoffs from the period of June 30th up until that meeting, and based on the information that was provided to me and others, we told you that there was not. But on July 14th, we did do some cutoffs that day. 7 different people in Caddo Parish were disconnected that day. A number of them were able to either pay their bill in full or make a significant payment and get their power turned back on. So it took a while to clarify that and work through what actually happened that day. But I wanted to say that in public as well as just in an email to you. As Commissioner Campbell said, the Public Service Commission created a rule with his leadership in 2007 that lays out the guidelines for when we can and can't do disconnects. Today, tomorrow, excessive heat warning has been issued by the National Weather Service, so we won't be doing disconnects today or tomorrow. We did some last week that cooled down. We were outside of the rule. We could start back if the weather forecast holds and it cools down later this week. We are being very cautious with our disconnects. We're not disconnecting somebody that has missed one payment or just missed 2 payments. We're talking about accounts that are significantly in arrears. The other thing that I think is good news, hopefully, and we talked about with Commissioner Jackson earlier, is we are hopeful that either later today or tomorrow we'll be sending out a press release and working with the Commission and the Council staff on this as well. We are going to waive late fees, waive addition of deposits on existing accounts, and allow some relaxed payment agreements. If somebody has defaulted on a payment agreement in the past 12 months, we don't normally offer them another chance, but we're going to do that. The reason we can't just snap our fingers and make it happen is we have to inform our people in our different call centers. As you know, there's a call center in Shreveport. There's others around the country. They need, if Ms. Smith is going to call and say, I need help with a payment agreement, we need to be sure that the person on the other end of the phone has all the specific details, because we're talking about a SWEPCO customer calling asking for something that may not be offered by another operating company. There's also some IT changes that have to happen as well to make all this work. But we are working diligently on that. We continue to ask our customers, if you can't make a payment, if you've received a call that says you may be eligible for disconnect, please call our customer care number. Call that number, ask for help. Get that process started now. For the customers that are able to use electronic devices, they can set this up through swepco.com. They can go in and make changes to their account, request payment agreements, and they will likely avoid what could be some long wait times, because we continue to see extended wait times at our call centers due to high bills, storms in different parts of the country. And as we put this press release out, we believe that will generate additional calls as well. But we're doing all that we can to cycle those calls through the queue. There's a number of people that maybe get in the queue that have the option of leaving their number and we can call them back. But there's some limits there of how many people are in that queue, so some people could have some waits. So we're excited about that. We think this is a very fair way to approach this with our customers. I know there's been a lot of comparisons made to what Entergy is doing in New Orleans area specific in South Louisiana. We feel like these allowances have a larger monetary impact to the customer. and it will be better than applying for a possible $150 credit. We think this is real money that will be off their bill and will make a difference as we move forward. So I will stop there and take questions.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Corbin. Commissioner Jackson.
Yes, Mr. President, at this time, I make a motion to remove resolution number 38 from the agenda at this particular time.
Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Jackson to remove resolution number 38 from the agenda. Would you like to speak on,
Yeah.
the second was by Commissioner Jones, maybe? Yes.
No, thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Councilman Corbin. I had a conversation with their team today, and as I explained to them, I didn't want this to be an adversarial thing. As we discussed over there, and as you stated, folks need to call SWEPCO, but what more than likely happens is folks will call us before they call y'all. And you know, what we realize is that some of the folks that have been cut off were well beyond 90 days of being disconnected. And so this resolution wouldn't have dealt with their situation anyway had we adopted it, because this resolution was limited to 60 days. And what we're trying to do is, and what we all agree on is, there are folks out there who need sort of a bridge, and I'm satisfied. I enjoyed my time spending with them. I hope it helps folks out long term. And Dr. Wilson, I'm asking if we could loan our PIO officer out, our communications manager out, as well as the parish communication system, whether it's social media, our push out to those folks who receive our parish alerts, and work with SWEPCO to get this word out to folks, as well as the website link that's needed. And again, Michael, thank you, and please thank Brian and Malcolm for their support of this. And so it's what happens when folks can sit down and kind of just talk about what's going on and what's in our community. So I do appreciate y'all for your patience and your time.
Thank you. Glad to, Commissioner.
Thank you, Mr. President.
All right, so Commissioner Burrell and Commissioner Chavez, is y'all's issue on the motion that Commissioner Jackson raised, or do you all want to? Okay. All right, Commissioner Burrell.
I just wanted to say, Mr. Chairman, I was sitting here listening to Mike telling us how they were trying to get the information out to the customer. It is so important that the customer knows what is actually going on, and I know you all have different sources, but what just came to my mind, you all have a very detailed bill every month. Would it be possible that you all are able to just add that note into your bill just as a customer service, or would that violate anything that you have? Because a lot of times they don't, a lot of these people don't see on social media. A lot of those people is not on social media. I'm not sure where else you're trying to get the information out, but I know that they get their bill. So maybe that you may even consider that, is all I'm saying.
Yeah, we can certainly look at that and see if that's an option.
Mr. President, that's all I need.
Thank you, Commissioner Burrell. Commissioner Chavez.
Thank you, President. I just want to take this opportunity to applaud Commissioner Jackson. This is some true leadership. It's one thing to stick something on the agenda, push a button, and rock on with your day, but he actually worked hard on this, sat down, got some serious results for some serious citizens, and I just want to thank you publicly. And the fact that Crystal pushed this out, and I know in conjunction with Mr. Corbin, I think it's best for everybody. So kudos to Commissioner Jackson. Thank you, President.
Thank you, Commissioner Chavez, and I'll second Commissioner Chavez's words there. Nice work, Commissioner Jackson. All right, we have a motion and a second on the table. Can we please vote? Okay, that passes 12 in favor. Councilman Corbin, I don't see anyone else on the board. Thank you very much. Thank you for coming down, and thank you all for working to help out this situation.
Thank you, Commissioners.
All right.
One thing before, I'm sorry, Mr. President, before Councilman Corbin leaves.
Mike?
We did discuss some sort of long-term, so Dr. Wilson, I would ask if we could get together with SWEPCO representatives there is some cost that's coming up with regard to storm restoration as well as, I think, the ice storm. And we kind of just talked very high level about some stuff, but I think finance, legal, and yourself, we might need to get with their team to discuss some sort of long-term stuff. We kind of just kicked around some ideas about minimizing that, and so it may be something we can do, it may be something we can't do, but
Okay.
I think it's worth exploring from a parish perspective.
Yeah, that'll be a good conversation probably to have offline first and
Right.
then bring it to the
Right.
full commission.
Right,
And
but I like to
that.
get our administrator on the record as agreeing to that,
I
so
saw
I
that
don't have to
tonight.
buy his lunch off the record. I get bullied sometimes, so appreciate you. I got witnesses.
And one thing I failed to mention that we talked about with Commissioner Jackson is we'll be sending a letter to the governor as well, asking for release of funds that can be used for rental and utility assistance. It made a huge impact last year, and we need to get some more of those funds in Caddo Parish.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Clerk, or Mrs. Clerk, do we have any more visitors?
Not that I know of. Now we move to reports, admin report.
Dr. Wilson?
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Good to see you all today.
Good afternoon.
We have 3 items that I need to discuss with you. The first one is the juvenile detention. We have 22 children in detention, 9 of 17-year-olds. We also have 8 in waiting OJJ transportation, and we still have 8 over CCC. The COVID report, we have 1 agency reporting an infection, positive infection. And for the Caddo Parish Commission, we had month to date, we have 3 infection reports. And we have no report of any monkeypox virus or infections from any of the agencies or internal. The third item, you should have the financial report at your station for July. And just want to mention as a caveat that this Friday, we'll be having our annual retirement luncheon, retiree luncheon. We have suspended it for a few years, and we are re-engaging in that. And we try to meet with our retirees and get them an update of what's going on at the parish and answer questions pertinent to their health information and so on and so forth. So that will be this Friday, and we have about 87 participants thus far. So we're looking forward to engaging with our retirees and keeping them informed on what's going on. And that concludes my report for the day, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Wilson. I think we've got a couple of people on the board. Commissioner Johnson?
Thank you, Mr. President. The juvenile detention, I saw last week where the DA and the city marshal's office basically said that they're joining each other to increase the truancy of picking up kids, sending out the letters, and doing everything else. But this is something that I brought to the attention of staff back in February. But now the DA is getting credit for it because they made the announcement. But this is something I talked about back in February, January, of we needed to engage them because you said that the sheriff department was low on man, Shreveport Police was low on man, and the other law enforcement that was here was the city marshal. But it seemed that it wasn't moved upon until this recently. So can y'all explain that?
Well, we can have Clay come forward to address that for you, Commissioner Johnson. We do thank you for your advice and recommending that, and we did move out and contacted the city marshal, and he was willing to agree to work with us. But I don't know to what degree we had needed their services since that communications, but again, Clay can talk to that issue.
Yeah, happy to help. I'm not sure if I understand the question. I mean, what I can tell you is...
The question is, I brought it up in February, and last week, the DA and the city marshal's office announced a truancy plan that they was putting together. So to me, the plan should have been put together back in February when I brought it up, not last week when the DA and the city marshal office got it.
Yes, that's true.
Well,
it should have been you and the city marshal standing there doing a press conference talking about the same situation back in February and not August with the DA's office.
My understanding of what the DA announced is the changes that he's wanting to make to be more aggressive with the parents. That's a decision that he has to make. It's not one that we're in charge of. We take control of the kids when they're found truant and put on probation. We deal with that. but the policy changes, they're trying to make some changes to how they're being more aggressive with parents. Is that what I'm understanding is the DA rolled out?
Well, I mean, if we had rolled this out in February, then it could have been an add-on to it. That's what I'm talking about. The whole thing was about truancy.
Mm-hmm.
And utilizing the city marshal's office to pick up those kids, enforce any changes to the policy. Well, my deal was back in February, utilize the city marshal's office so that you can get them off the street and not wait on SPD or the sheriff department because they was handling other cases. That's what I proposed back then.
Yeah, that's correct, Commissioner. You're correct. We had issues with having enough law enforcement personnel to enforce the warrants on outstanding kids that need to be picked up. And we did talk to the city marshal and asked for help. And but I don't know to what degree they actually end up helping us.
Okay.
Okay.
That's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. You done, Commissioner?
Yes, on that part, I'm done.
Oh.
I'm done.
Oh, you done?
Yeah.
Commissioner Chavez.
Thank you, President. I was actually going to touch on that. That was what I wanted to bring up. I wanted to see if we can get the new city marshal, James Jefferson, down here. I know now that he's the new marshal that he is pushing this endeavor and finding these additional officers to go serve what the DAs wanting to put forward. So I think he was listening to the good ideas that Commissioner Johnson pushed forward, and now that he's the man in charge, he's pushing this forward. So I wanted to see if Dr. Wilson, you could reach out to him and invite him down and introduce him to everybody, since he is now the new city marshal, and him in conjunction with Director Walker can kind of give us a report on what it's going to look like with this new program that them in conjunction with the DA are going to roll out. Thank you, Dr. Wilson. Thank you, President.
Thank you, Commissioner Chavez. Seeing no one else on the board, that brings us to commission remarks. Anyone else on the board for commission remarks? Commissioner Burrell?
Just one, Mr. Chairman. As you know, we had our first broadband meeting. I just wanted to make the commission aware of that. There was a lot of issues that we talked about and a lot of issues that we will probably be discussing as time goes on. So we had our first meeting. It was a good meeting, although we did not have a quorum. I had to work on that, but it went well.
And then you want to mention Monday's meeting, Monday at 9 o'clock? The meeting we talked about on the phone today with the Louisiana Connect?
Oh, you can address that.
I will on the President's letter.
I'll talk to you.
Commissioner Young.
Thank you, Mr. President. Dr. Wilson, I had a question about the current population in CCC. Do you know how many people are incarcerated at CCC right now?
It typically averages about 1,370 to 1,400 per day.
Okay, so that's your estimate for now?
Pardon me?
That's your estimate for today?
Yes, sir.
And do you know if they're still on COVID lockdown in CCC?
No, sir, they're not on COVID lockdown anymore.
Okay, great.
No, sir.
Does that mean that the juvenile inmates can?
I just need to follow up with the sheriff because his issue was manpower.
Right.
I need to follow up with the sheriff and see what things are.
I look forward to learning more about that. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Commissioner Young. Okay, anyone else? Okay, Ms. Clerk, where are we?
President's report.
Okay, I will briefly discuss the issue that came up this morning with Ms. Bosco. She's right. She has been working on this project since March. I've been visiting with her since March. Mr. Clark's been visiting with her. We've been working hard to try to find a solution for her. You all may have, it's an uncomfortable situation when you find yourselves between what a citizen wants and what the regulations say you can do. And that's the situation that we found ourselves in with respect to Ms. Bosco, in that she was looking to put 2 residents on a lot that was a little less than an acre, and it was too small for 2 septic tanks. I didn't know about the one. Maybe the one dual entry into one will solve that problem. I hope you're right. But in talking with Mr. Bernstein about what our options were, you know, we talked through the process and what needed to be done if she wanted to appeal to this body. And we had advised her if she wanted to appeal to this body that she should get her an engineer. The resolution or the legislation said that you could appeal if you had an engineer certifying that it wouldn't damage the water table and that type of thing. So I'd advised her to do that, and I'd also advised her to make sure that she wasn't going to be in violation of her covenant of her neighborhood, because the paperwork indicated that 2 buildings on one lot, 2 residences on one lot might be a violation of that as well. So I'd encourage her to check into both those things and get back to me. And that was several weeks ago. And I was expecting to hear back from her promptly after sending the note, knowing that she was going to be disappointed. But I didn't hear back from her, so I didn't know she was going to be here today. So I apologize for the confusion there. And hopefully we can find a solution for her that is legal. You know, I pushed Public Works. Can't we find a solution here? And they're like, well, right now there's not a solution that's legal, unless we were to have a change in the legislation. So that's where we are with that. Okay, Ms. Clark, that's it for me.
All right, now we move to new business. Authorized introduction of ordinance number 6251 of 2022, an ordinance to amend ordinance number 6200 of 2022 relative to a parish planning and zoning commission, to provide for its permanent status and membership, to provide for its authority, to remove the termination date, and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Move to introduce. Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Hopkins, second from Commissioner Chavez to introduce this on Thursday. Commissioner Hopkins, would you like to comment?
Long Range Committee met and went over. This is to take the planning board from temporary to permanent. It also addresses the membership. We have 5 members that are set for this board. We only have 4 members we look to make it 6 members now. And then also, I think we were going to do the ZBA within this ordinance also. And that's planning board considers the ZBA because their rules are a little different when they come to us. Well, when they come from the administration of the MPC on an item, it can be appealed to the ZBA. And then I think it can come to us. On regular planning, it goes to the planning board and then to the commission. So this will take care of all our different avenues that we need to address. And that's basically what this does. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no one else on the board, let's vote.
That motion fails with 6 in support and 6 in opposition. Now we move to authorize introduction of ordinance number 6252 of 2022, an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the E. Edward Jones Housing Trust Fund for the year 2022 to appropriate funds received from the U.S. Treasury in the amount of $1,207,096 for the Emergency Rental Assistance Program, and to otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Move to advance.
Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Jackson, a second from Commissioner Burrell to advance. Commissioner Jackson, would you like to comment?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. These are dollars that have come from the reallocation plan. I do have, and it may be in the ordinance, is these coming from ERAP 1 or ERAP 2 dollars? Still one. Okay. Okay, and have they got with y'all on ERAP 2 yet? Because I know they submitted for reallocation.
Right. I was in contact with Treasury last week. We're expecting that funding in the next couple of weeks, but I've had a number given to me, but I don't have any confirmation of that.
Okay, so I guess the state is still trying to run through all of their ERAP $1. There's still about 165 million left on the ERAP 2, and would you believe there's still 195 million left for homeowners assistance as well. So it's a lot of money still left out there, but I'll get with administration now that we know that this is ERAP 2, because the ERAP 1, thank you, Haley, the rules have changed for ERAP 2 significantly in the last 2 to 3 weeks while you were had your toes in the sand, Dr. Wilson. So I'll get with you on it, but thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Commissioner Jackson. Commissioner Burrell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Given the fact that we're dealing with utilities, especially high utilities, I know in ERAP 1, if I'm not mistaken, there was some room to look at utilities. Would that apply to this particular set of monies?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
ERAP
Yes.
1 and 2 can be used for utilities.
All right, thank you, Mr. President.
Okay. All right, we're ready to vote.
Michelle, can I be added as a co-sponsor?
I'm sorry?
Can you add me as a co-sponsor?
Yes.
Same here, Mr.
Mr. Burrell, Commissioner Burrell as well. Thank you. Are we ready to vote?
And that motion carries with 12 in support and 0 in opposition. Now we move to authorize introduction of ordinance number 6253 of 2022 in relation to zoning case 22-15-P, an ordinance to amend Volume 2 of the Code of Ordinances of the Parish of Caddo, as amended the Caddo Parish Unified Development Code by amending the zoning of property located south side of Mount Zion Road, approximately 600 feet east of Linwood Avenue, Caddo Parish, Louisiana, from rural agricultural zoning district to light industrial zoning district.
So moved to advance.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Chavez, second by Commissioner Lazarus to advance. Would you like to comment, Commissioner?
This is just a location, they want to get zoned light industrial. They want to put a warehouse out there. It's over there on the corner of Mount Zion and Linwood, where there's already some other light industrial. It'll fit. It passed through the MPC unanimously with no objections. So it asks for favorable support.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Jackson?
Yeah, I was gonna make a motion to in global and advance, or, well, never mind. No, don't worry about it.
Okay. All right, let's vote, please.
And that motion carries with 12 in support and 0 in opposition. Now we move to authorize introduction of ordinance number 6254 of 2022, an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the oil and gas fund to appropriate funds for Remembrance Garden at the Caddo Parish Courthouse and to otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Move to advance.
Second.
A motion by Commissioner Johnson, a second by Commissioner Stormy Gage Watts. Commissioner Johnson, would you like to comment?
Yes. Back in July, I mentioned about the lynching trees, and we got all the discussion from historians. I met another historian Friday, and they gave me a whole different perspective on a lot of things that we didn't hear the other day. So what I wanted to do is do a remembrance garden. If you're looking on the McNeil side, there's a flower bed right there that's in pretty bad shape from my opinion. And I would like to take that bed, rebed it with flowers that mean rebirth, new, and change. And they're listed in the ordinance, those type of flowers. And also put a marker about the hanging and the lynching that had happened in Caddo Parish.
Okay. Anyone else on the board? Commissioner Chavez?
Thank you, President. I had a question on the 125,000. It seems like a lot for some flowers. Dr. Wilson, did finance look through this?
No, sir. You want me to answer that?
Sure.
Okay, so as dealing with staff over the years, I know that we come in with a number typically in the beginning. That number grows for some other reason. So I wanted to make sure we had a number in place. It's up to. That doesn't mean that we have to go to it. It just says up to. Don't know how much the market's gonna cost. I don't know if they got to go get engineering, architect, and all that involved. So I wanted to make sure we had enough money allocated. So we wanted to come back and talk about this again.
I actually took Commissioner Johnson's advice when we had a historian come here, and I went to go find a historian of a different shade, and spoke with a man, and he shed some good light, and we had a good conversation. And although that's a big amount, I would be interested if you'd take an amendment where we could go to a committee, maybe discuss this and I could bring that other guy in and we can discuss doing maybe a QR code where we can scan over and tell the story of what happened down there and do the garden and talk about everything and then kind of get it all out on one plan before just doing a garden here if you'd be.
The marker can also have the QR scan on it as well if we wanted to do it that way.
Can we send it to committee and then figure out how to do it correctly as opposed to just?
Well, this is done correctly from my perspective. Since this is something I brought up, it's, in my opinion, done the right way. I mean, it's a garden of remembrance, and then there's a marker basically talks about, bloody Caddo, if you want to say.
We have.
And then at the same time, you can put the QR marker. I don't want to put a speaker out there because over a period of time, it's not gonna hold up. So yeah, if we do the QR scan, you can scan it, hear the story on your phone. That's fine.
That's I'm cool with that. I do know that Commissioner Young, he's a big, I don't know what the term would be, a fan of plants, but I know he wanted to be part of the garden conversation.
That's fine. I mean, we still can talk about it. We don't have to go to committee. Me and them can talk about it and then put it in for final adoption. It takes 2 weeks.
I'm done, President.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Chavez. Commissioner Jackson?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. I spoke to the sponsor of this legislation, and my question, and we spoke about, I don't have any issues with this legislation other than I think this should come from one of the dedicated funds that is set up for these type of things. The courthouse has a specific fund. Am I not correct?
It's courthouse operations. We have a dedicated fund to operate the courthouse.
So the grounds of the courthouse is not operational?
Yes, sir. Everything relative to its maintenance, yes.
So I just think that, and I just heard him say you want to maintain. So I just think that this should come out of that fund. There's also a facilities maintenance fund that I think.
It's just the same.
Oh, that's the same fund? Okay.
For the courthouse.
I thought there was another one specific for the courthouse.
No, sir.
I don't remember a courthouse special revenue fund.
Yeah, it's a.
It goes by, okay, got you. Okay, so I just think that, to me, I think that should come out of the facilities maintenance fund to do this. I don't have a problem at all with it. I just think that it's most appropriate to take it from that fund. It's a drop in the bucket, if you ask me. And I've seen the work that the parish, shout out to Kevin if he's out there, I've seen the work that they do. I think it would be something that looks good out there, as well as the, maybe start talking about a garden on the what side of it?
Texas Street
the
side.
Texas Street side as well. I just, nice, some flowers out there, some color. I think would be good to highlight our courthouse. So, and I'm sure they maintain it pretty well too. Don't we have an arborist?
No, sir, we don't. We have a contract that we use to cut the grass and maintain the flower beds.
Okay.
That are currently there now.
We have a contract.
We got a contract on it. So,
Yes.
I mean, maybe we could extend the contract as well. But I just think it should come out of, what fund does that come out of?
Yeah, it's allowed to come out of that fund, but you would require an amendment to this ordinance. That's not what we have on
Gotcha.
there now.
Okay. So, but I did talk to the sponsor about it, and that's my only concern, is making sure that it comes out of that fund, because I don't necessarily see this as Laney out. I see it as, now maybe the part about the monument or the
Plaque.
not monument,
The plaque.
the plaque, the marker, can come out of oil and gas, but I think the flower bed piece should come out of the facilities and maintenance part. So that's it for me. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Commissioner Jackson. Commissioner Young?
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to move move this to committee, whichever committee the president suggests.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion from, well, I guess maybe I need to say which committee that would be. What do y'all think, long-range planning?
No.
Long range special
We got
needs.
plenty to do in long range.
Animal mosquito.
Is it-
Natural resources.
Special project?
Yeah, long range is special
Yeah,
projects.
long range. All right, so we have a motion by Commissioner Young, a second by Commissioner Talaferro to move this to the Long Range Planning Commission for discussion. Would you like to comment further on that, Commissioner Young?
Yes, Mr. President. This is a large dollar number, and we send much smaller dollar numbers to committee repeatedly, and I think this deserves that diligence too. We should all be on the same page about what it is before we vote for such a large dollar amount for this project. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Jackson, back on the board second time?
Yeah, I'd like to amend that to advance it as well. If I can get a second on that.
All right, we have a motion to send it to committee, but also advance as
Yes,
well.
absolutely.
And that motion was made by Commissioner Jackson, a second by Commissioner Gage Watts.
Yeah.
Would you like to speak further, Commissioner Jackson?
Yes, sir. To be brief about it, we've got $2 million. How much is Ronald McDonald?
Yes, sir.
500.
2 million
500.
total.
500,000.
Total.
500.
500,000. 500,000 one time.
Oh, it's a one-time
It's
500.
not one time, but it's 500,000.
Okay, so we've got either way, it's more than
Well, yeah,
100.
I mean, I thought you meant, I'm sorry, it is one time. I thought you meant it's over several years, but it is a one-time request.
Okay. So the total amount that Ronald McDonald House is requesting is 5? Gotcha. So we've got a larger request that we just 2 weeks ago and we'll be considering on Thursday. We just did the same process of advancing it and then dual committee, and the committee met the day after to discuss it and figure out what we need to figure out. So I think that even with this is more than, this is half of what was requested for the Ronald McDonald deal. So I think it's appropriate to just move them in the same manner that the Ronald McDonald moved in. So that would be my suggestion. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Commissioner Jackson. Commissioner Johnson?
Yeah, I was gonna mention that you know, the Ronald McDonald basically came to the floor, and the committee didn't even have a quorum, and so that came to the full body, got pushed back, but there was questions. That's the important piece of this. There was many questions about what was the money gonna be used for, where was it gonna be. We didn't even know what the location was until we started talking about it, started asking questions. Today, Commissioner Chavez asked a few questions, and I said yes. So there was no pushback or debate back and forth about the project other than the dollar amount, and it's up to $125,000, which doesn't mean that we dedicated to spend that amount. It just says up to. And the only reason I did that is because of prior practice of knowing how stuff escalates, or that another commissioner might want to add something to it. So now you add something to it, the price goes up. No, we just got to talking about adding a QR code. That's adding to it. So therefore, that's why I said up to 125,000. We don't have to get to the 125,000, but instead of coming back and asking for another 50,000, just like we did on the Ring doorbell, I said let's put some more money into it, get some more Ring doorbells. No, let's wait 6 more months. So I don't want to do the flowers and then say, well, let's wait until we see how the flowers look, and then we go in and put the marker in, then we come back and put the QR code on there. Basically do it in one step. Don't have to hit the 125. Between now and 2 weeks, we can get a better figure of how much it's gonna cost through the maintenance department. They can pretty much get a quote from the flower bed, the lawn service flower bed guys. They can get a price for that. We can get a price for a marker. We can get a price for a QR code. In 2 weeks' time, we got time to do that. But this was just giving us a dollar amount to come back to and say, and the dollar amount is not in the body, so we can then come back and readjust it once we get information back from them. It's that simple. We make things complicated for no reason. But that's all I have, Mr. President.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Johnson. Seeing no one else on the board, we have Commissioner Jackson's motion on the table to advance, to send to the Long Range Planning Committee while simultaneously advancing till the agenda in 2 weeks. All right, we're ready to vote on that one.
That motion carries with 9 in support and 3 in opposition. Now we move to authorize introduction of ordinance number 6255 of 2022, an ordinance to close and abandon a portion of the dedication for an unnamed road in the parish of Caddo and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Move to introduce.
Second.
We had a motion from Commissioner Hopkins, was it? And the second from Commissioner Jackson. Thank you. Commissioner Hopkins, would you like to comment?
Now, I tell you what, we can ask Mr. Whittington to come up and just give a brief explanation on this.
Mr. Whittington?
This is just another one of those very old dedications that's out there. There's no road built there, and the gentleman owns all of the property on both sides of it, and he's just asking it to be closed and abandoned so he can combine all his property. There's nothing built there.
Thank you. Any questions on that? Seeing no one, I think we're ready to vote.
Commissioner Hopkins? And that motion carries with 12 in support. Now we move to, we already took up resolution number 38, so we move to resolution number 39 of 2022, a resolution adopting a citizen participation plan for the CDBG program.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Jackson, a second from Commissioner Hopkins. Commissioner Jackson, would you like to comment?
Not today. I'm good.
All right. I'd like, Haley, can you just comment a little bit, just educate us a little bit on this CDBG plan?
LCDBG. It's just we have a process every year to apply for the grant, and so we have to go through the same process every year to get the projects, get citizens' input, and then scoring, and it's just the start of that process.
Okay, thank you. All right, Commissioner Jackson, you're back on the board.
Isn't this where a program where we can apply for those water and sewer projects?
Yes.
The situation that's going on, I don't mean to step on Commissioner Epperson's toes, but shouldn't we be?
Everything is considered in the process. Usually the smaller communities that apply for this program, like Build-A-Gill, smaller communities, water system apply for these programs.
Okay.
Because something that it requires that they put in some money on their own and do certain engineering work. It's a point-based system. The more you put into it, the better your chances on getting approved.
Okay. And I know with the hurricanes coming, we were a disaster parish. Can y'all find out if this includes disaster CDBG as well? Because we weren't eligible parish for it, and I know we got significant plus ups on infrastructure, housing, and economic development for CDBG. And I'd love to know if disaster CDBG is included in this allocation as well. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Commissioner Jackson. All right, we ready to vote? Let's vote, please.
And that motion carries with 12 in support and none in opposition. Now we move to authorize resolution number 40 of 2022, a resolution to urge and request the Louisiana Legislature to amend Louisiana Revised Statute 33:172 to include special provisions applicable to Caddo Parish.
Move for advancement to Thursday's agenda.
Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Epperson, a second from Commissioner Jackson. Commissioner Epperson, would you like to comment?
Yes. Recently we had an annexation off of Greenwood Road, chasing from the Timberline subdivision, the Deer Creek subdivision, Western Hills Estates and surrounding areas. Also, some of you may recall, I think in 2021, we had an individual want to get a zoning change in the Meadow Creek area, which is located between Shirley Francis Road, bordered on the north side, and Highway 169 on the west side. That was rejected, and there was some talk about annexing that property where they could into the town of Greenwood where they could get the zoning that they wanted. However, that was not done. So therefore, under the statutes that we've cited here, we've noticed that there were some situations that left some things that fell through the crack. And of course, this statute is from the Louisiana State Legislature. Some of you, I don't know if you're familiar with the aggressive annexation in the late 80s and the early 90s, was basically why these got into place. Landowners would go out and develop a subdivision in unincorporated areas where there were good economic prosperity as well as property valuation on homes that were being built, and municipalities would basically annex them without little or no effort. So this is a situation that we would like to ask that the state legislature would look at and close some of those issues and concerns of the citizens within that area. It's nothing new. It's been done by other parishes within the state of Louisiana, and I ask that we would advance this forward to Thursday's work session.
Thank you, Commissioner Epperson. Anyone else? Seeing no one, let's vote, please. Sorry, Commissioner Chavez, did you just pop up?
I did. I guess I'll catch it on Thursday.
And that motion carries with 7 support and 5 in opposition. Now we move to authorize resolution number 41 of 2022, a resolution to urge and request the town of Greenwood to form a citizens advisory board to review and make recommendations regarding water issues with the town's water system.
Move for advancement to Thursday's agenda.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Epperson to move to Thursday with a second by Commissioner Jones. Commissioner Epperson?
Here and again, we have an issue that has been ongoing with the town of Greenwood providing water to not only the citizens of its corporate areas, but also to surrounding areas also that are in unincorporated areas. For a number of years, there have been issues with coloration, with quality, with lines breaking, numerous ball bands and things of that nature. And the citizens, for the most part, I've purchased property in 19 years ago this November, and I built from scratch. And ever since I've been there, there's been issues with the quality of water there. Most of the residents in some of the surrounding areas, they buy bottled water. They get water from the private companies to bring to drink. They don't cook with it. And of course, there have been price increases and things of that nature, and the citizens feel as though there has not been a lot of transparency as to issues that arise with the water problems that's under the town of Greenwood. We have donated a significant amount of money to the town of Greenwood, helping them with their water system. However, we feel that citizens feel that we do not have a voice, and we would like to form a citizens advisory committee, which would be similar to the water districts that some of the rural municipalities and areas have, where the citizens can do things such as give information relative to infrastructure, give input as to usage, price increases and things of that nature. If you want to look at it in another term, basically, of course, it's a service that the town of Greenwood is providing. However, the citizens are paying for it. So that still means that we should have a voice in what's happening with that system. So in other words, what we have now is almost like taxation without representation. So I'd ask that you would advance this to Thursday's agenda for favorable vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Epperson. Commissioner Chavez?
Thank you, President. I actually talked to my parents about this. They live in Greenwood, and I asked them, is their water quality poor? They told me that theirs is not. So I called over there. Our former Commissioner Cox, who was my predecessor, he moved out there, and he said that he would like, well, their city attorney said they're not available today to come, so they're going to come down here and speak on this on Thursday, because they said they do have an advisory board in place. It's the LDH. So I can't speak for them, but they said they'll be down here on Thursday, so I just want to let everybody know. And they disagreed with this, but they couldn't come because they didn't even know it was on the agenda. That's all.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Chavez. Commissioner Epperson.
LDH has a voice in basically all municipalities when it comes to water. I think all our samples have to pass inspections by them, even the city of Shreveport. That's not like a citizens advisory committee from citizens that's lived within this area and had problems with it. So I have a plethora of individuals that can come down here also. And of course, in accordance with our policies, if they didn't know this was on the agenda, we publicized this and did all of our due diligence as we normally do everything that's required of us to get our public information. So they're welcome to come down here. So I would ask that you would advance this to Thursday, and we let them all come down here and everybody have a say. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Epperson. Commissioner Hopkins.
Yeah, you know, it seems to me we didn't like it very much when we had a state representative trying to tell us what to do. But here we go trying to tell Greenwood what they need to do. You know, they're a town. They have a board. They make their decisions. Yeah, they do sell water to outside their municipality, just like I buy water from Blanchard. If they've got a problem, Greenwood needs to solve it. We don't need to solve their problem. And there's many ways for them to solve that problem. We're not in the water business, thank goodness, because it's a never-ending misery. So I just think we're getting in out of our lane again, which we are real good at doing. And let's let them solve their problem. If those people are not happy with their water outside, and I don't know what all exact areas, they need to go to the city of Greenwood. If they don't feel like they're getting their problem solved, they need to contact LDH. But there's all other alternatives, but we don't need to be involved in. That's not what we do. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Hopkins. Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm gonna have to disagree with that. We got in District 2, there's 2 water boards and 2 sewer boards. We are in the water business. And if you look at the record of what we've spent in the last couple of years with helping Blanchard to upgrade lines, helping Greenwood to run lines and upgrade their treatment system, we're in the water business. We even spent over $2-3 million in water. It's not with piping, it's with treatment, it's with something. So we are in the water business, not every day, but when they need something, they come to us. I was president at the time when we had the freeze, and Greenwood went off system early, and they was the last one to come back on. If it wasn't for the city of Shreveport having a line that could backfeed into Greenwood, those citizens would have been without water much longer than everybody else, even after the lines had thawed out. Shreveport was supplying water to backfeed into their system to supply the citizens of Caddo Parish. At that time, it becomes a public health issue, which we are in the business of making sure that we take care of our citizens in Caddo Parish. So when you know that there's a problem, and there's been, I think it's a sewer board between me and your area that Foster Campbell wanted us to bail out. So we are in the water business. And so all Commissioner Epperson is saying is, let's look at this and come up with some solution to help the situation out. Because if we keep putting money into the system and there's no change, there's a problem. And he's addressing that there is a problem. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Commissioner Epperson.
And this isn't Commissioner Epperson, this is on behalf of my constituents. Like every one of you down here sitting up and holler about, you get a text from your constituent while you're here, where I must represent my constituents the same as you do. I didn't see Greenwood come down and give that $750,000 that we voted for them to help extend their water line down Highway 169. I didn't see them turn back the 340-something thousand we gave them throughout the years I've been here. I didn't see them not request any help of things that I've done for them in the past. So if they want to come on down here, tell them just give us everything back. We have a right to represent our constituents. And if we don't want to get involved, let's eliminate voting on these water and sewer board appointees. What's the difference? Same situation. So let's stop playing games and do the right thing on behalf of our citizens. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Epperson. Commissioner Chavez.
Thank you, President. On this, it's a resolution. It's telling Greenwood basically how we feel about it. But like on Commissioner Jackson's earlier, what he did is he had something on the agenda. It was a resolution, but he pulled it because he did some work and he kind of found out where the bottlenecks were. If there is a sewer district over here, water district, have we done the due diligence to figure out what's actually going on in Greenwood? Why is there water issues? And of course, I know the author will have a comment on that, but I mean, in all seriousness, what's going on? What's going on down there?
As the commissioner for that district, there isn't a water district. If you don't understand what's going on, please listen to what I have here, and let's move this forward, and we can get everybody down here. We have a right; those citizens have a right to ask for some means of redress. And believe you me, we have tried to work with them. You'll see citizens come down here and see requests that they've had and try to get answers. And a resolution is an ask. It's an ask. It's a request. So this is how we start at the table. So if you want to say to hell with the citizens that use the Greenwood water, that's been there for years and know that there's issues, go ahead and vote the way that you want to vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Epperson. Commissioner Chavez, are you done? Okay. Commissioner Jones.
Call for the question.
All right, we have a motion from Commissioner Jones to call for the question, a second by Commissioner Stormy Gage Watts. Ready to vote on call for the question? Yeah. All right. Voting on call for the question.
And that motion carries with 12 in support and 0 in opposition.
All right, well, let's have the matter at hand then. Voting on Commissioner Epperson's resolution. Forwarding to Thursday, or not.
And that motion carries with 8 in support and 4 in opposition. Now we move to special resolution of recognition for Blanchard AA All-Stars.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Hopkins, a second from Commissioner Jones for the AAU All-Stars. Commissioner Hopkins, care to comment?
It's just a resolution for the record. It will not be read on Thursday.
Okay, let's vote, please.
Commissioner Johnson's on the board.
Oh, I'm sorry. Commissioner Johnson.
I want to in global in advance 11:10, 11:11, 11:12.
Okay, that's it. All right, Commissioner Johnson has proposed that we in Globo in advance, is that right?
Global in advance.
11:10, 11:11, 11:12, second by Commissioner Young. Any comments, Commissioner Johnson? All right, let's vote. Seeing no one on the board, let's vote. All right, that's it. Citizens' comments. Well, I guess we got communiques and committee reports. Anybody? If you got something, get on the board, please. Commissioner Jackson, communiques and committee reports. Commissioner Jackson?
Oh. No.
No. Commissioner Burrell, do you have a question?
No, don't.
20 something million. Commissioner Burrell, go ahead.
Yeah, just on communiques, I just wanted to acknowledge the fact that President Atkins and I attended a press conference this morning over at the CMIT at the Biomed, Intertech, let's put it that way. They announced a $20-something million grant that was awarded to the city through transportation, the city's transportation department, to develop a pedestrian corridor, including beautifications and better transportation opportunities for the less fortunate who are having access to our medical facilities. This will be along Kings Highway. It just happened to be a part of my district. Kings Highway runs in and out, but it really looks nice. If you go on the website, I'm sure that you'll find that development. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Commissioner Burrell. Commissioner Jackson,
Yes,
you back, or is that an old one?
Yes, I would, Mr. President, at this time, I'd like to make a motion to reconsider introduction of ordinance number 6251 at this time.
We have a motion by Commissioner Jackson to reintroduce which one,
To
Commissioner?
reconsider,
6251, is it, Commissioner?
yes.
A motion by Commissioner Jackson, a second by Commissioner Stormy Gage Watts. Yes, Commissioner, would you like to comment on your motion?
No, sir.
No, sir? All right, anyone? I certainly would encourage us to support 6251, as this is the new parish planning board that we worked so hard to get in place. We need to extend that timeline and get them back into action. All right, seeing no one else on the board, let's vote.
And that motion carries with 11 in support and none in opposition. Now we need to go ahead and take up ordinance number 6251.
Right.
Move to advance to Thursday.
Second.
A motion by Commissioner Jackson to advance this issue to Thursday. Anyone else on the board? Seeing none, let's vote, please.
And that motion carries with 10 in support, 1 in opposition, and 1 absent.
All right. Seeing nothing else on the agenda, motion to adjourn? Thank you. We're adjourned.
So